Hi, I'm Joe LaGilia, and on this episode of Not Your Average Joe, we're talking with Mrs. Karyn Fuller of Lincoln Elementary. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Not Your Average Joe, powered by Mortgage Message. My name is Joe LaGilia, and today I'm joined with Mrs. Karyn Fuller, kindergarten teacher of Lincoln Elementary. Karyn, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Karyn, I want to kick off the show by just kind of giving you a chance to tell everybody who you are, kind of where you're from, and of course, what you do.
Well, as you mentioned, I'm a kindergarten teacher at Lincoln Elementary. I've been at Lincoln for roughly 5 years. I stayed home with my 3 boys for 10 years, and then before that, I taught 3rd grade. I grew up in Darien, Illinois, so kind of local. Went to school in Minnesota. Always wanted to be a teacher. And it's so funny, my favorite teacher to this day is my kindergarten teacher.
Absolutely.
It's kind of funny that that's kind of where I found my home, is in kindergarten.
That's so interesting you say that. Shout out to Mrs. Grady, my kindergarten teacher as well. You don't forget.
No, you don't. Miss Swain, she was mine. She was the best. She invited us to her wedding. It was amazing.
It's so great, and obviously inspired you to do what you do.
Yeah.
I want to start off the interview by saying it's really exciting because this show, as we were talking about before we went on, is based off of bringing stories to light that may not be getting shared as much as they should, and doing that through bringing real community heroes on the show. And like most real community heroes, you were speaking with me about saying, I don't really see myself that way. But I want to tell you why you were nominated. There was a parent within the community that wanted to bring the story to light of your initiative of the Lincoln Elementary Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Just kind of kick off the interview by telling us, what is that? And more importantly, what inspired that?
So I didn't even realize I was kind of doing it. I had taken a course, I'm going to say it was 3 summers ago, all with COVID, everything kind of melts together. And it was an inclusion kind of diversity, to diversify your classroom, so to speak. And so in this course, the teachers were talking about you need to make sure everybody in your classroom has something they can identify with. And one of them, they mentioned picture books. And in kindergarten, a lot of our lessons are built on picture books. And I kept thinking, I don't think I do that. I don't think I have that. There's not a book that everybody can identify with. So I'm like, I failed. I have so failed. So I took upon myself, I said, that's it. I'm going to build my room. I'm going to build that library. And I did spent a lot of money on my classroom because I thought everybody needs to find some book that they can identify with and feel like I've done my job to make their classroom feel like their home. And so this parent and I were talking about it. And so in then came this kind of Lincoln initiative to do this for every classroom.
Well, and I just want to say this maybe as a personal antidote, but certainly for the context of the interview, I think never in history have we needed people like you in education recognizing that and moving in that direction. And so I just want to right off the bat applaud you for that.
Thanks.
And I want to go back to something that you said that I want to make sure isn't missed. This initiative to bring that to your classroom at the kindergarten level, which we'll get into, this was self-funded.
Yeah.
So the passion behind this has to be so strong. Yeah. Just kind of talk about, again, why the self-funding part of it as far as not waiting for something else to happen to do it. And then also talk about thinking at that young of an age to bring that to the forefront. Just kind of talk on those 2 points if you can. I
think personally I'm a very impatient person, so I want it now. And so thank God we have Amazon, and I was like, do, just, and then I taught my boys, just hide the boxes so Dad doesn't see them when they come to the door. And because I didn't know, I could go to the principal and say, hey, I want X, Y, or Z. I just thought I had to do it myself. So I just did it. And I think in kindergarten, we're often afraid to bring up these topics because they're so little. And we're like, how do we bring it up? And should we bring it up? And should we confuse them? Will we confuse them? Will we scare them? Will we upset the parents? And I was kind of at first afraid. And now I'm like, nope, our world is changing. They need to be aware at this level. How can I do it?
Yeah. And any parent will tell you, as you know better than most as a teacher and as a parent, these kids are sponges.
Oh, yeah.
And so from that perspective, when we talk about tolerance, when we talk about acceptance, when we talk about love, just kind of get into a little bit of how you are bringing that into the classroom from a practical standpoint? What are some of the things that you have brought into the classroom?
So we have all these picture books, so we'll do like picture walks, and just sometimes we just look at the pictures, and they're so intuitive to see like, well, why is there a fence separating this little girl from that little girl? Why can't they play together? Like they're so smart in picking up on all those cues that we as adults, like, we just miss.
Yeah.
Or I think we just choose to miss. Like, we just have those blinders on that they don't have.
Love it.
And I think then they put it to use where we don't put it to use.
Yeah.
They go right and do it.
So good. So I got to ask the question, when you thought initially of what could be the reactions, I want to focus on the positive. Talk to me about some of the positive reactions of the parents, and then, of course, maybe some stories about the kids.
So the parents, I didn't know what would happen, and I had a mom come to me and say, never have I felt so more accepted, might be the word. And I thought, wow, did she ever not feel accepted? So then again, I'm like, I failed again. Like, how did I do it before? And then I remembered we do what we call centers. So the kids are kind of doing their own little work, and we as teachers are pulling kids for reading groups. And I was kind of in between, and I heard some rumbling over here, and you're kind of listening. And some friends were not wanting to play or do with other friends because they were different. And another little friend said, her heart is just like mine. I'll do it with her.
Unbelievable.
And I cried. And Mrs. Fuller's a crier. And they're like, what's wrong? I'm like, no, nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong. And I'm like, They get it. They really get it. Like, they just understand so much better than we do.
There's such an incredible impact. And I guess to carry on that question about parents' reaction, kids' reaction, which that one could make me cry. Mm-hmm. Tell me about the other educators that are observing you taking this step, taking this initiative. Have you seen other educators that you are around or that you maybe are connected with kind of come back to you and say, well, tell me more about what you did and maybe I should be doing it? Is there any conversations happening in the hallways like that?
I have a new teammate. Like, she jumped on kindergarten last year, and she's like a sponge herself this year. Like, every book, she's like, give me that book. Oh my God, I love that. Can I do that? Oh my God, that's the best. And I think that's what you see at Lincoln. Like, everybody wants to try to do better, be better, want that golden ring. So I think that's what's exciting. So you just hear a whisper, and then that whisper starts to like ripple down the hallway.
Yeah.
Well, you have some outliers, but then eventually they don't want to miss out, so then they're jumping into it.
Oh, of course. Oh, there's no question. I want to make sure I get this statement right, because there's been a statement that's been made about you, and I just want your reaction to it, how you feel, and maybe expand on it a little bit. But there's been a statement that's been made about Mrs. Fuller. She continues to advocate for her students long after they left the classroom. What does that mean to you?
That struck my heart really big. So I thought about that one, and I thought, at first I didn't know how I did that. And then I thought, well, in the morning before the kids go to their own classrooms, there's usually like 10 or 12 kids outside my door, like from 5th grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade. Some were in my class, some were not in my class. So I feel like even if you weren't in my class, there's some way I touch you. You'll see me singing in the hall, dancing in the hall. I'm just that kind of teacher. So I feel like that is how I reach kids. I get invited to birthday parties. I get invited to soccer games, baseball games, whatever. I go plays. I just feel like once you're in my classroom, or once I've met you, you're mine forever. That's just how it is.
Love it.
And we had boundary changes this year. So some kids that were at Lincoln are now back at Lincoln. And one of my students was from Walker's Grove, was coming back, and she's in 5th grade, and she was really scared. So Mom reached out, and we met over the summer, and we talked, and I've been leaving her notes on her desk, and I like candy. I'm not going to lie. I give her some candy. So I just feel like I just try my best. I read a quote once when I was getting my master's. It said, be the teacher you wished you had.
Wow.
And I went to Catholic school, so it was kind of strict, and I just wished I had some teachers that were a little more fluffy.
Absolutely. Well, we share that in common as well.
Okay,
yeah.
So you feel my pain?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and I just think it's wonderful that you've taken those experiences and made it into what you would want for yourself today, and that shows. I wanna talk about something really cool that happened to you in the last year, especially amidst all the craziness. You received the Apple of Excellence Award in 2020.
Yeah.
First off, would love to know kind of the background of that, and then kind of what that meant to you.
Oh, it's crazy, especially based on like COVID and everything. So you're nominated by parents or a parent. They have to write in didn't even know it was happening with COVID. I didn't think it was going to happen. And I did. I got it. Parent wrote this amazing, wonderful nomination for me. And I was blown away. Didn't even think, well, based on we were online half the year-ish, on and off. Then we were like remote, hybrid, whatever. I was so crazy.
Yeah.
So to think that I actually touched them the way that she displayed it in her letter was just amazing. So,
well, you could tell you have a very humble spirit, and those are the people that need to be lifted up, which is great. Coming out of the craziness, as we've both described it in this interview, what are you looking to kind of, a vision of the future as far as how you want to bring this same passion and continue to bring this passion despite all the pivots that's been made? In other words, there's a lot of educators who watch this show, and I think that you've already given them so much value in this interview. But to take it one step further, moving into the future, what is some value that you see that you could give within your own practice as an educator, but also to the educators who are watching, or maybe the parents who are watching, of how we move forward from this incredible moment in history?
I think always be willing to change and learn. I think sometimes we get stagnant and we just say, this is what I do and this is how I do it. That's it. I'm always looking for that way to change or make it better or do it better. And if I have to stand on my head, I'm going to stand on my head. If I have to do a cartwheel, I'm going to do a cartwheel. Like, I have a pink microphone that echoes. Like, if I need that microphone today, because that's what's going to work. Like, you just always have to look for that little shtick that's going to make them, I don't know, grab it, gleam it, whatever, just because they need it. And we live in such a modern, moving, fast-moving, technology-driven arena. We have to jump on that bandwagon. We kind of have to. Doesn't mean we have to have them on a computer in the classroom, but we have to kind of jump around and show them, give them some life. Don't just sit behind a desk and talk at them. Like, let's get them moving and grooving.
Yeah, be willing to change, be willing to learn. Love it.
Absolutely.
As we mentioned, and through multiple nominations, you have your presence was requested on the Not Your Average Joe show, because you are viewed as a real community hero. But I want to close the interview by just asking you the question: who is your hero in your life?
I think my parents probably. They came to this country from Ireland. My dad was 18. My dad was 21. My mom was 18. They came here like with nothing, and like they built so much and gave my brothers and sisters and I so much that I think that's kind of probably my drive, that you can do something from nothing. There's no stopping you. So I would definitely say my parents.
Well, love it. Shout out to Mom and Dad.
Right.
And thank you, Mrs. Karyn Fuller, for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So appreciate the interview, and excited to see what comes in the years ahead for you and for all of us. And thank you to our audience for being a part of another Not Your Average Joe show powered by Mortgage Message. We'll see you next week, everyone. Take care.
Hi, I'm Karyn Fuller from Lincoln Elementary. I was just on Not Your Average Joe, and if you have any community heroes, we want to hear their story.